It looks like we're live. There are a couple guys playing music downstairs, so I'm really hoping that it's not coming through. It always seems to be something around this time of the afternoon. They just kind of gather to hang out and play their music. All right, so I'm Gina, and I'm back today with another episode of Tea Time Tuesday. So as you pop in, feel free to just pop a comment in the chat. If you have any questions, just post them there as well, and I will get to them as quickly as I can. I did post the link to the tea that I'm going to talk about today. This is a tea blend that I wrote an article about several years ago. So I posted it earlier in Facebook. I think I posted it on Facebook. I don't think I posted it under the one in YouTube. But I'm going to give you all the information today about what it's all about. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Gina. I actually was diagnosed with lupus about 8 or 9 years ago. I never remember the day. It's not something I necessarily want to remember, but it's been a few years, and it took a very difficult day to get me started on what I now call my natural healing journey. So I started working with different herbs, and I got into blending a lot of different herbs together to create healing teas. So I've been sharing several of them over the last few weeks, and the one I'm going to share with you today is actually one I call winter wellness, but it's not necessarily just for the winter time. I created it during the winter because I was trying to get away from having to take the flu shot, and I haven't taken the flu shot since it's been about 15 years. So a lot of the one of the herbs that's in this blend has actually been researched quite a bit as far as being really good for cold and flu symptoms. And when we get to that, I will let you know. But this one is called Winter Wellness, or it can be your all year long wellness tea. It's entirely up to you. I actually make it all year round because, like I said, it's not just for cold and flu season. And let me go ahead and show you what it looks like. This is that's the tea blend. You can see that there are lots of different. I like to use the whole herbs rather than powder. If only the powder is available, then I'll go ahead and use the powder. And I believe I have cinnamon in here, the cinnamon powder, because I didn't have the cinnamon chips at the time. But this is I'm hoping it's coming across because it's really pretty. It's got let me tell you what's in here before we get too far into that. The ingredients in this are Eleuthero or Siberian ginseng. It's the same thing, and you'll find it mentioned as both names. So if you're looking for Eleuthero, you'll probably see it come up as being Siberian ginseng as well. It's the same thing, okay? Ginger is also in here, elderberry, cinnamon, and rosehips. And the optional herbs are going to be rose petals, echinacea, and orange peel. And I put those as optional. I personally use them all, but the reason why I said echinacea is optional is because I know a lot of lupus patients have been told that they're not supposed to use echinacea because it really boosts the immune system. I have never had an issue working with echinacea, so but that's me. I want you to I put that as completely optional. You do what you feel you need to do. If you do not want to use it as in this blend, that is entirely up to you. Now, having said that, nothing that I'm going to say today is something you should just take with a grain of salt. Nothing I say today is considered to be some kind of substitute for medical help or medical attention. If you do have something going on, please consult with your doctor. If you already have been diagnosed with a condition, please make sure that you consult your doctor before you start using any kind of herbs or natural therapies, because just because it's a natural therapy doesn't mean that it cannot affect you negatively. Or if you're taking medications, sometimes the herbs can adversely affect how the medication that you're taking works. So please consult with your doctor first before starting any kind of natural therapies. Okay, so that is the main reason why I said the echinacea is purely optional, is because I know that there are a lot of lupus patients who have had concerns with it, but I personally haven't. Like I said, in many videos, lots of videos that I've done, I've mentioned that when you heal the gut, you heal the rest of the body. And I think that's one of the reasons why I believe a lot of the lupus patients have issues, because they're still trying to heal the gut. So they're kind of bombarding it with things that are really too strong for that time. So I would recommend working a little bit more on healing the gut first before introducing echinacea. I think that's one of the main reasons why it's suggested that lupus patients don't use it. But I personally have not had any issues, and I've been, it's been I think 9 years since I was diagnosed, and for the last 2 or almost 3 years now, I've had no lupus symptoms in my body. My rheumatologist is actually quite shocked, and initially said that I must have been misdiagnosed, until she looked at my original diagnosis and original blood work and said, no, that's correct. So, I'm either a walking miracle, or everything that I've done over the last few years to heal my body has worked. So I'm telling you from the standpoint of my personal experience, echinacea has not harmed me at all. But if you're advised against it, please don't use it. Now, rose petals, I use rose petals in mine because they're tasty, they're loaded with vitamin C, and we'll get into all of that in a minute. The only thing I did not put into this blend here is the orange peel. And I was actually driving just now when I said, but this is loaded with vitamin C, so an orange peel has a ton of vitamin C in it, so that would actually be another beneficial item to put into this blend. Okay, so I added that in as an optional one. It's in the ingredients that I highly recommend that you do put in are the Eleuthero, ginger, elderberry, cinnamon, and rosehips. Definitely those. That's like your baseline wellness tea. And the optional ones would be the rose petals and the echinacea and the orange peel. Okay, adding all of those in would just give it an added boost, and the orange peel will give it a slight little bit of a tang. Okay, all right. So Eleuthero, why Eleuthero? Or Siberian ginseng, you're going to see it referred to as both. Eleuthero or Siberian ginseng is what's known as an adaptogenic herb. Now, what does that mean? Okay, so what it does, it basically regulates a stable balance throughout your body, mainly working in 3 areas: the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and the adrenal glands. So it works in stabilizing all of those hormones that you have running throughout your body. So it basically acts as a kind of a body hacking herb. All right. So that's why that's in here. Whenever you have a cold or flu, or some kind of upper respiratory infection, your body is kind of, literally out of whack. So what the Siberian ginseng is going to do is to try to regulate everything that's happening and try to bring your body back into homeostasis. Okay, so that's why, and that's number 1 in the list. So the majority of what you're looking at here is Siberian ginseng. Okay, now the Eleuthero or Siberian ginseng is also an energy enhancer. If you're kind of fatigued, the Eleuthero is going to be really good for that as well. If you have any questions, just simply pop them in the chat. Okay. It's really good for improving the immune system, the immune system response, which I mentioned earlier. It's loaded with antioxidants. It also helps if you're having trouble focusing. This is one of those herbs or one of those teas that you can drink that will help with clarity, mental clarity, and focus. And it also helps with strengthening the bones. So if you have conditions like osteoporosis, or you're not able to, maybe not able to absorb calcium into your body, taking Eleuthero or Siberian ginseng can also help with that. And if you're having trouble sleeping, taking some Eleuthero will also help with that as well. The next item is ginger, and I've talked about ginger in quite a few tea blends that I've shared with you already. So I'm not going to beat it up too much in here. What I'm going to do as well is tag a few of the other tea blends that I've discussed in the past. I will tag it at the end of this live stream as well, so you can see, get an idea of some of the ones that I've already talked about. If you do follow me on YouTube, I've actually put the Tea Time Tuesday videos into a playlist, so I can tag the playlist onto the end of this, and you'll be able to go back and watch all of those as well. All right, so ginger. Like I said, I've talked about this in previous videos, but again, when we think of ginger, a lot of us think about it being good for the stomach. If you have nausea or upset stomach, sipping on some ginger tea usually helps to alleviate that, right? So the ginger is in here. It helps to soothe stomach pain. If you have a cold or flu, and I didn't mention this at the beginning, this winter wellness tea was specifically created around this time of the year because this is cold and season. So that's why it was created this time of the year. But with everything that's been going on, this is a tea blend that you probably want to have all year long. All right. So that's why this particular blend was created. It was specifically for cold and flu season, but you can certainly drink it all year long, which is what I do. I have it made, or have the raw materials made all year long, and I can just grab it whenever, make some tea whenever I want to. All right. So ginger is also a very powerful anti-inflammatory. It's in the there's a capsule that I take, and it was the very first thing that I started on when I was diagnosed with lupus. It's called FTG. It's frankincense, turmeric, and ginger, because those are three very powerful anti-inflammatories. So ginger is in here because of that reason. Whenever you have a cold or flu, you tend to get really congested up here, and sometimes it's hard to breathe. So that will help with the bringing, some of that inflammation out as well. I mentioned that ginger is also good for digestion, healing the gut area. It does help with acid reflux, and it's also great for coughs, and I mentioned like sore throat and congestion. I'm hoping that you're not hearing the music coming from outside. It's kind of loud. All right, so the next ingredient in here is cinnamon, and it's already been mentioned in quite a few blends that I created, but cinnamon and ginger are two really powerful anti-inflammatories, so I tend to use these quite a bit. Cinnamon is also antiseptic and helps with digestion as well as soothing the gut. Cinnamon is also a very high source of antioxidants, and it tends to help with heart health because it's very warming, so it kind of helps your blood to circulate throughout your body. Helps with lowering blood pressure, as well as people who have any kind of diabetes concerns. It helps with stabilizing the blood sugar as well. Cinnamon also helps to fight infections and viruses naturally, and the oil is part of what they call the thieves blend, and I won't go into the details much here, but it's a blend that I can talk about on Oily Friday. So if you're interested in learning more about that particular blend, just let me know as well. Okay. Cinnamon is antimicrobial, it's antiviral, it's antifungal, it's all of that. So it's a very, very powerful herb. The other ingredient, next ingredient, is rose hips. And again, I've spoken about this particular one in another, it was another tea that I made. It's a few weeks back, I believe. So I spoke about rose hips then. But it is also, I spoke about it in reference to oil that I use on my skin. I use the rose hip oil in the moisturizer, the essential oil blend moisturizer that I use on my skin. So, but the rose hips cells are in here in this particular tea. It's great for helping with the cold and flu, and it's loaded with vitamin C. If you have any kind of vitamin C deficiency, this having the rose hips in here will definitely help with that. It's a great stomach tonic, so it's helpful with people who have, if you have any kind of stomach spasms, drinking some rosehip tea will help with that. And if you have things like ulcers, rosehips are said to be very good for people who have ulcers. It's antibacterial, it helps to boost your energy, and it's also used to treat diarrhea, constipation, even gallstones are the rose hips is beneficial for people who have gallstones, kidney issues, edema, the swelling, and even gout. Okay. A lot of people use rose hips to make like things like jam, jellies. It's even used in soups. So if you've never tried it, do a little bit of a research on rose hips, and there's lots of recipes that you can find as far as how to make jellies or jams with it. Music is getting louder. I really hope that it's am I still live? Yes, I am. I haven't been kicked off, so periodically Facebook and YouTube will kick you off if there's some copywritten music coming through. So I think I'm safe because I'm still here. All right, so the next ingredient is elderberries, and I absolutely love elderberries, and it is one herb that should be in your pantry, in your herbal medicine cabinet all year long. And it actually, there was actually a shortage on it the earlier part of this year, because when this particular virus started to go around, all of a sudden everybody was interested in elderberry, and there was actually a shortage. But if you can, I'm pretty sure that you can still find it on Mountain Rose Herbs. So go ahead and check it out there. You can also find it at Mrs. Mango's, which is a local herbal shop. But Mountain Rose Herbs, I'm pretty sure still has it. So if you're interested in stocking up on elderberry, that would be the time. I also have a friend in Texas. I don't remember the name of her farm. What I can do is I will find the name of it, and I will just make a comment to the link of her farm, because I know that she also makes elderberry syrup and sells it. Elderberries is definitely one that you want to have in your pantry all year long. I'm not touting it as being something that's going to cure anything, but I can tell you this, that elderberries has been studied extensively. So there's a lot of research that's been done on elderberries as far as cold and flu is concerned, and it's found to be one that can actually help to prevent you getting a cold or the flu. And have the cold or flu, it's actually beneficial to help shorten and cut the symptoms that you might be feeling, and shorten the time period that you actually have the cold or flu. So it works both ways. If you already are having the symptoms, drinking some elderberry tea will definitely help to shorten it and to help with the symptoms as well. But drinking it throughout the year will also help to prevent you from getting the cold or flu. And that's the reason why I drink it. And I've not had a flu shot in, like I said, about 15 years, because this is something that I take and I have in my herbal medicine cabinet all year long. The elderberries will help to clear up the respiratory tract. If you have, any kind of upper respiratory infection, it will help to reduce congestion, reduces fever, and it is loaded with vitamin C. So you can see that the combination of elderberries and rose hips, and then if you add in some orange peel, all that vitamin C, that's going to be very, very beneficial if you have a cold or flu, and to prevent you from getting ill. So a little bit of history on elderberry. Like I said, it's been studied extensively, so there's a lot of research out there for you to go and read up on. It was initially used to treat, actually, the elderberry was used to treat a flu pandemic that took place in, I think it was Panama back in 1995. I found this out during some research. And here's a little bit of a fun fact. If you're a fan of The Walking Dead, we find the season. It was season 4, episode 3, where Herschel wants to go. He goes out into the woods, and there's like a flu epidemic, a really strange flu that's going on throughout the prison where everyone is kind of holed up. And Herschel decides he's going to go into the woods to go and collect these elderberries. And the moment that Herschel mentioned this, I was actually sitting with my daughter watching this episode, and the moment Herschel mentioned elderberries, my daughter's head kind of swung and looked at me, and I looked at her, and I said, I told you so. And it was that point she was like, I honestly didn't believe that all those weeds that you were giving to us was actually good for us, But elderberries were mentioned in season 4, episode 3, and I did post a link to that on Facebook, so you can go back and you can watch. It is not a funny episode, but it was just kind of funny the way that my daughter reacted to me whenever we were watching it. But yes, elderberries have been known to treat even a flu epidemic in Panama. That was back in 1995. Right, so if you're looking for elderberries, I would suggest you try mountain rose herbs. And oddly enough, let me read a quote that came from that particular episode of The Walking Dead when Herschel was talking to his daughter. And he said, "You step outside, you risk your life." And then he said another line, and then he said, "Nowadays, you breathe and you risk your life." And I thought, that was season 4. I think we're now on season 9 of Walking Dead. So this was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. That was very prophetic, because nowadays you walk outside, and irony is, as soon as he ended with that line, nowadays you breathe and you risk your life, he pulled up his mask and walked into the area where he was going to go and help the people. And it's like, I thought that was so prophetic. We're in that time period where everybody has to walk outside wearing a mask, right? But even if you add nothing else to this tea, elderberries is the one thing that I would recommend that you do have in your herbal medicine cabinet all year long. All right, so let's go on to the next ingredient. And this one, like I said, is optional. So I just spoke about the ones that you really need to have in here. Rose petals, optional, but I would recommend it. I mean, it's rose petals, right? So just a little bit of extra love in there. So rose petals is loaded with vitamin A, B, C, D, and E. That should be enough to convince you. Just go ahead and put the rose petals in. It's a mild sedative, but it's very, very mild, because I drink teas that have rose petals in there during the day, and it does not affect me at all. Not at all. It's very anti-inflammatory. It's antibacterial. It's a great detox flower or herb, however you want to look at it. It's great for soothing a sore throat. So if you put a little bit of the rose petals in there, it'll be good for that as well. Helps with digestion. So it's going to help with the gut area. And it also is said to nourish the good bacteria that live in your intestines. It's also a natural remedy for constipation, and also helps to elevate the mood. So it's I said it's optional. It's one that I would recommend that you go ahead and put in there. Another herb that is really good for the sore throat, but I do not have in here, but I'm going to mention that, is slippery elm bark. And it's very soothing. It has I guess almost like a gelatinous. Um, when you brew the tea, it's like a very I don't want to say slimy because it's not, but it's very, very soothing whenever you have a really bad cough, a really bad sore throat. So slipper elm bark, that's another one that you can add in here as well. And I did mention orange peel with the that's also loaded with vitamin C. And echinacea, again, this one is optional, and I mentioned why, you do not have to put it in here. But if you have no issues with lupus or autoimmune conditions, then I will certainly go ahead and just put it in. You've probably heard about echinacea. It's been around, forever. It's one of those herbs that people recommend that you can drink just to prevent yourself. Yeah, you drink it to prevent from getting the cold or the flu, but I don't think it's one that if you already have a cold or flu, I don't think it's necessarily going to be beneficial, right? So this is one I think that's purely for preventive measures. The elderberry, in contrast to echinacea, the elderberry does help when you have the cold or flu, but it also helps as a prevention. Okay. Now, echinacea is a natural cold and flu prevention. It helps to relieve pain as well. It's anti-inflammatory, and it's said to help to relieve upper respiratory symptoms as well as fight infection. But in my research, I found that the echinacea is not really good whenever you already have, or it's not that great when you already have a cold or flu. So the echinacea, I think, would be more beneficial for you to take throughout the year as a prevention. Right. So I did mention. So your optional ones are slipper elm bark, orange peel, rose petals, and echinacea. And then your ingredients, your main ingredients are Eleuthero or Siberian ginseng, ginger, elderberry, cinnamon, and rosehips. Right? And those are the ingredients for your winter wellness or all year long wellness tea, entirely up to you. Now, let me mention a lot of the teas. You'll notice that a lot of the tea blends that I make, they have a combination of different things in there. There's bark, there's fruit, there are berries. So there's a combination of different parts because herbal medicine tends to come from the leaves, could come from berries, peels like the orange peel that I mentioned. You can put that in here. Herbal parts also come from the seeds like cardamom or fennel seeds or flax seeds. Those are what I mean. And then they also come from flowers like chamomile or calendula. I've mentioned those before. Or roots. I've mentioned burdock root, dandelion root, ginseng root. So you'll find that herbal teas are made with a combination of, well, at least the ones that I make, they're made with a combination of different parts of the herb, from leaves, berries, peels, seeds, flowers, or the roots. So this particular tea blend actually contains roots, berries, bark, as well as flowers. All right. And I hope it's coming across because it's such a pretty tea. It's a really pretty tea. Okay, so I don't think I gave you the actual recipe. The recipe, like I said, is one that I published in an article about 6 years ago. I think it's about 6 years, 4 or 5 years ago. So if you're on Facebook, I already have the link to that article under this live stream that you can go and read, and it has a lot more detail in there as far as the particular herbs that I mentioned are. So, but the full recipe is like this: 1 part of Eleuthero or Siberian ginseng, half a part of ginger, half a part elderberry, 1/4 part of cinnamon, 1/4 part rose hips, and these are the optional ones, quarter part rose petals, half a part of echinacea, and then you can add in orange peel. Maybe I'd say maybe a quarter part of orange peel, quarter part of the slipper elm bark if you want to try adding those in as well. And when I say part is a unit of measurement. So when I say one part, if you're going to make enough for maybe say maybe 3 or 4 cups, you'd put in like 1 tablespoon of Eleuthero, half a tablespoon of ginger, half a tablespoon of elderberry, a quarter tablespoon of cinnamon, a quarter tablespoon of rosehips, or the part is just basically a unit of measurement. If you want to make a huge batch of this, a part could be a cup. So you could have 1 cup of Eleuthero, a half a cup of ginger, half a cup of elderberry, and so forth. So when I say part, it's just that's just a unit of measurement. You can decide on how much or how little of the blend you want to make. And I think I've mentioned everything that I wanted to say about that that blend. So if you have any questions about this particular blend at all, once the live is over, simply just post them in the chat, either below the video on YouTube, or you can post them in the chat or in the comment section on Facebook. And I'm streaming to two of my pages on Facebook, so I will see them either way. All right. So that's that is the winter wellness or all year long wellness tea. It's up to you, however, whenever you want to drink it. All right, so I'm going to be back on Wednesday. I'll be back tomorrow, God's willing, for Wisdom Wednesday. And what I'm going to do is, and I'm hoping this might be done in parts, maybe 3 different parts, because if I try to talk about it all tomorrow, it's going to take a really long time. So what I thought about doing tomorrow was giving you an idea of how to develop an herbal medicine cabinet or an herbal first aid kit, that sort of thing. And I would show you different things that I work with throughout the year to prevent myself from getting sick, to prevent my son from getting sick, and my granddaughter, my kids. So not about, and I made a bunch of notes today because that thought popped into my head that we're entering what's considered to be cold and flu season, but we've actually been in a flu season or a virus season pretty much the whole year. So what I'm going to do is share with you different things from my arsenal to give you an idea of how you can start building an herbal medicine cabinet or an herbal first aid kit. And you don't necessarily have to make all of these things from scratch, because there are things that you can certainly go and buy from different pharmacies. CVS, Walgreens, they sell elderberry gummies. You can order elderberry syrup from various locations. So I'm not looking at, this is not something that you're going to be spending a lot of time in the kitchen creating, right? But I'll give you some ideas of things that I've created over the years that I've been working with and have really helped me and my family. All right, so tomorrow, that's what I'm going to start that tomorrow with the herbal medicine cabinet. And I think I've maybe 4 pages, so I know it's going to take a while. So what I think I'll do is I'll have part 1 tomorrow, part 2 next week, and then maybe a part 3. That way we're not going for too long. And then on Friday, I will be here for Oily Friday. And I think this coming Friday, what I'm going to do is share with you how to make your own hand sanitizer using a few different essential oils that are, some of them you may not necessarily have to make it. I can give you different sites that you can go and purchase a blend, and then create the hand sanitizer for yourself. My throat got a little dry. I totally forgot to show you what the tea actually looks like. This is the tea after it's brewed. Okay, I do have a little bit of honey in here, but this is the tea once you brew it. You can see like a red tint from the from rose petals and the elderberry, and it is so good. And when you first taste it, you get just a little hit of cinnamon, and then the elderberries kind of come into play, the rose petals, and it's so good. But you can drink it without adding any sweetener to it, because the elderberries and the rose petals are kind of a natural sweetener. Some people say that the elderberry has like a slightly bitter taste, but I guess it all depends on who's tasting it, but it's just a natural sweetener. But when you add a little bit of raw honey, then it adds even more healing benefits to your blend as well. As I picked it up to take a sip, I realized that I hadn't even shared what the tea looks like. All right, so that is going to happen on the herbal medicine cabinet will be tomorrow, part 1, and then on Friday we will do I'll show you how to make natural hand sanitizer, and I'll share with you different ways that you can make it as well. All right, so that is it for today. If you have any questions after viewing, please feel free to just pop them into the comment section, and I get notifications about them so that I can always come back and answer. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I will see you again tomorrow for Wisdom Wednesday, and again on Friday for Oily Friday. You don't want to miss tomorrow, and you don't want to miss Friday, because it's definitely going to be I'm going to be giving you information that will certainly help you throughout this this particular cold and flu season, and definitely kind of open your mind to maybe creating your very own, like an herbal medicine cabinet for your family, maybe a travel size one that you can take with you as well. And then I'll teach you how to make the hand sanitizer on the Oily Friday, so this coming Friday. All right, so I will see you again tomorrow, and God's willing, and Friday.